Hello, today I'm going to be showing you how to create an exam in Data Director, and in a few easy steps we'll have created your first one. So first thing you need to do, log in to the Data Director website. This should come up, your name should be there, and then what we're going to do is go over, click on exams. It'll bring up this interface, and the next thing we want to do is on the left hand side in the left hand navigation bar, the very top link says create a new exam, and we are just going to click on that. The next screen that should come up should look like this, and this is where we're going to create the basic parts of the exam. First thing, we need to give it a title. It's called a Unit 1 test. Exam ID, that's optional. Don't even worry about putting that in. Description, you can give a description for more details on the exam. Date type, I've been using a date range, and I usually just go with September 1st of 2011 to January 1st of 2012. Kind of cover the entire school year. Academic year should be 11-12. And then you can select the term. You can make it a semester 1, 2, or a year exam, or you could leave this blank. I'm just going to pick semester 1. As we scroll down, the last things we need to fill out. Grades. What grade level is this going to be for? If you're at the high school, it's going to be 9, 10, 11, 12. Middle school, elementary, they'll all be different. So select the ones you want your test for. Then we need to pick which subject area. I'm going to be creating mine in social studies today. And then finally, test type. Make sure we pick this. This has a lot of different stuff. What we want, though, is the very last option where it says user created. So now that we've set all this up, next thing we need to do down in the right hand corner is the next step button. Let's go ahead and click that. That'll bring you to another screen. They're going to ask you a few more questions about your test. First one is, will you be using the item bank? You want to make sure it says no. Will you be using clusters? No. Next part, how many questions will be in this exam? Should be a simple question for you to answer. We're going to make 10. The next box is where the Data Director gives you the option of what kind of questions you're going to be using. Multiple choice, alternating multiple choice, true false, short answer. I'm just going to go with multiple choice, keep it nice and simple. I think a lot of people use that as well. Will you align your questions to standards? I'm going to put yes, but we're not going to do that right away like it's going to ask you. You can modify the performance bands. You can change that to a more ABC grade schedule, or you can stick with the one Data Director uses where it's advanced and proficient and basic. And then finally, would you like to share this exam with other users or schools? We're going to put no for now. We can always go back and change that, and I'm going to show you that in a different video. I'm going to click next step, move on. Next screen. This is just the screen where they want you to label your questions. I don't ever mess with this. I just leave it as Q1 through Q whatever. So we're just going to go to next step. Okay. Now this is where they want you to search for academic standards and add them. I'm not going to do that at this point in time. We're going to go back after we've already created the answer key and then do that. So you can just skip this step, go to next step. And what we're going to do now is create the actual answer key. This should be pretty simple. We'll just fill this in with some randoms. And for the most part, if you're creating your exams or tests in a Microsoft Word, this is the way you want to create your answer key in Data Director. It's very simple. And so once you have all this filled out, you have the correct ones, make sure they're correct so your test scores aren't skewed. We're going to hit next step. I know it feels like we're doing that a lot, but it's actually pretty simple. So now Data Director has told us we've created the exam. It's all here, and it should bring you to the exam screen, which if you've used Data Director before, hopefully you're somewhat familiar with. A lot of different stuff on here. And then at the very bottom is where you will find your exam materials, where you can print your answer sheets for your students or blanks. What we're going to do now is actually scroll all the way back up to the top, and this is where we are going to add the standards, which I would assume is the big part of why we're using Data Director in the first place. So what we need to do is go over to the left-hand navigation bar, and the fourth link down said Standards. We're going to click on it. This screen may come up. It has to do with automatic export of exams. It's very simple. Don't be freaked out. All we need to do is turn it off for now. So we click here to turn off the automatic exporting. It'll take you to this screen telling you that it's been turned off, and all we want to do is click here to go back to your exam. That's something we'll have to turn back on after we are done, and you can easily do that right here. But we need to link the standards first. So, now that we're back, we've turned the automatic export off. I believe it'll make it you do that for all of your exams. If not, it's just another skip you can ignore. We're going to want to go back over to the left-hand side, click on Standards, and now we can add standards to the exam. So we scroll down. Might be a little confusing, but I'll show you the quickest way to find your standards for your class. What we want is the Michigan grade level and high school content expectations. These are the standards we all know and are used to. And then what we want, find your specific subject area. I'm going to go with social studies, it's what I know. Click the little drop down so you get more, and then pick whichever one you were looking for. It could be any of the grades, or if we're at the 10-12, a specific subject. And I'm going to go with world history and geography because, well, that's what I teach. So once you select whichever grade or subject you're searching for, we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom and click on the search button. Data Director will now bring up this screen. And this is actually a pretty simple screen to use. On the left side, what you'll see are the test questions, and they will have a little checkbox next to it. On the right side are the standards. And what I always like to do, and I recommend to you, is go to Show Standards per Page. I like to have as many standards displayed as possible, because if you don't, you actually have to click through multiple pages of them, and it just gets a little annoying. So now all we are going to do is link each question to whichever standard it needs. So there's a few ways you can do this. It really depends on what standards you're using and how they associate with each of the test questions. I try to take as many questions, we'll say questions 1, question 3, and question 5, all have the same standard. What you do now is you go and search through the long list, and they're usually in an order. I'll scroll down to the ones that make more sense to me. Ours start in error 4, and you guys will be all familiar with how yours look. But let's say that questions 1, 3, and 5 all have standard 4.1.1, which is right there. All we're going to do is select it, make sure the questions are selected, and then we're going to press link. It'll go through, and now when the screen comes back, what you'll notice is that 4.1.1 has been linked to all the questions I had previously clicked on. Now, say question 2 and question 4 had a different standard. Scroll all the way back down, find whichever one you're looking for. Maybe it was 4.3.3. Click on it, make sure we have the standard and the question selected, and link. Now that you could do this one question at a time. Click on question 1 and then click through, and you could click multiple standards. You could do 3 of them. Click on question 1 and link them. It really depends on how many standards are on your test and how they apply to each question. Find out what works for you. That's the best thing I can tell you. But once we're done with that, we're done. Once you link it all up, you are done. What you're going to do now is return to the exam. Go all the way over to the left-hand navigation bar. And we come back here, and next thing we want to do is, if you still have this little red warning, we want to click here to turn on automatic exporting. Remember, we had to turn that off in order to alter the exam, so just click it. We don't want to share my exam permissions at this time. And then you can just click here to go back to your exam. It's a lot of click here to do this. Just read through carefully and you'll figure it out. But now our exam's done. It's linked to the standards we need. Remember, we can scroll all the way to the bottom, and that is where we print the answer sheets with our student names. There's really not much more to it than that. The next video, I'm just going to show how to quickly link or quickly share exams with other users in the school. Okay, thanks.